Welcome to the Breakup Recovery Podcasts by your host, Barbara Stevens. Discover the wisdom and remarkable insights of Barbara Stevens, breakup recovery mentor, author, and public speaker. Barbara offers programs and solutions for any breakup so you can turn your life around, create lasting changes for the better, and embrace life again.
Welcome to Breakup Recovery Podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm Barbara Stevens, and Breakup Recovery is a podcast helping you recover from your breakup. In this week's episode, I welcome Jenn Burton. Jenn is coming onto Breakup Recovery Podcast to talk about dating, something we all find ourselves wanting to know more about after we have gotten over our breakups, separations, and divorces. So welcome, Jenn.
Thank you for having me, Barbara.
Jenn, we have so much to talk about in this episode, and I have had requests from listeners on this very subject. How to date again, how do you know when I'm ready, all of those things. But let's start with your own breakup story. Tell me about your marriage and the ending of it.
Well, quite simply, my husband and I, we had started marriage counseling throughout our marriage to try to make it work. But after years of marriage counseling, I decided on our 3rd year anniversary. We'd only been in this marriage for 3 years and had been in several years of marriage counseling, but I decided on our 3rd year anniversary that this couldn't be all that love's about, just the trials and the tribulations and the making it all about him and his wants and his needs and his desires. So at this point in time, we were actually separated, and we came back together to celebrate our 3rd year anniversary to see if, we could have a go at it, make it work. And after he left, I fell down sobbing on my knees, very dramatic. You can just visualize this in a very dramatic fashion. I'm on my knees and I'm sobbing, and I just pray, please send me a sign. Is this it? Is this all that there is? And at that point in time, and about 3 days later, I actually had a man randomly ask me out, and I hadn't been asked out in years. And at that point, I realized that maybe there was a lot more to love than it just being about the trials and tribulations. And well, actually, after a few weeks of reflection, I decided to officially ask my husband for a divorce. And that's when I decided to go ahead, since our marriage had been broken for so long, that instead of doing what most people would suggest of having a certain period of time where you grieve the relationship, where you take your time to reflect, I felt at that point I had done enough reflecting that I wanted to go back into the dating world right away. Plus, I knew that a lot of times they move on a lot more quickly, and I didn't want to be sitting there waiting to watch him move on, even though I already knew I wanted to move on. I didn't want that icky feeling around me as well, thinking that, I'm supposed to wait this certain amount of time to grieve this relationship that's already been over for so long. I'm going to go ahead and do what my heart is telling me to do, which is to immerse myself back in the dating world and do it in a completely different fashion.
And I think that's a question most people ask themselves. When or how do you know that you are ready to start dating again after you've been through a breakup?
And it's such an important question to ask yourself, Barbara. You know this. It's very individual. It's for some of us, as I was in my situation, the relationship's been over for a long time. You hold on to it and kind of beat it to death trying to make it work, but it's already gone, and it's just a matter of making it official.
So is there any preparation people need to do before they get back out there and date again?
Again, it depends. Let's say you're recently out of a breakup that you didn't realize was coming. It completely took you by surprise and maybe knocks you to your knees in a way that you've never felt before. I think the preparation then, of course, would be taking some time to reflect, to really care for yourself, to get through the sobbing moments of that, because those can be absolutely excruciating, and it's a very awkward place to date from, of course. But If you, like me, have decided that you are ready to move forward, then I think the best preparation you can do before you actually move back into start taking really good self-care is probably the best preparation you can do for dating, because you need a really solid foundation to put yourself out there. Dating, well, you're going to hear it from the girls club. Dating is a necessary evil. Dating is it's a means to an end. Dating has a whole bunch of negative connotation around it. But the truth is dating can be really fun. You can feel like a teenage girl again, waiting for your first kiss, and the anticipation and the butterflies and the excitement and the magic and all the craziness swirling around your head that feels so good. You can move back into that as dating as an adult and have a piece of that, but also have a very grounding experience at the same time that can lead to something really special if you're willing to take care of yourself along the way.
We'll talk a little bit more about the how-tos and what you can do, but tell me some of your dating experiences that didn't go so well and why.
Well, before I started dating like I did when I left my husband, a lot of my dating experiences were very poor and very crappy. I would, of course, meet a man and think that I'd line everything up in our head, how we were going to marry each other and everything was going to work out perfectly and we'd live out happily ever after before we'd even been on date 3. I used to be the woman who would jump straight into the idea of this working out forever. And I never really let myself enjoy the dating process. So I had lots of crappy dating experiences. I met lots of men who I never heard from again. I would have what I thought was a great date, and then all of a sudden he was, just gone. So as far as really horrible dates, I don't have a lot of details for you on that. I just remember the feelings afterwards. And in fact, when I did ask my husband before I decided to do dating differently, that man that asked me out on that date, I ended up going out with him and I became very obsessed with him. So that's one of the things that self-care and really, trying to do something differently when you're dating and making sure that your heart's not too fragile is really important, because you can step into obsession, or what I like to call love sickness, very easily if you start putting all of your emotions and heart into something that you haven't built any stamina for yet.
I guess that would be one of the biggest mistakes people make then while dating.
Yes, it definitely can be. It can be one. One of the things I like to teach the women that I work with is how to date multiple men instead of giving their heart to one man right away until he's actually stepped up and asked for a commitment, because men will keep their options open for a while. Even if they say that they're only exclusively sleeping with you, they're still keeping their options open until they've actually asked you for an exclusive relationship. But women, on the other hand, our programming works a little bit differently. We are still kind of taught that once a man gives us any kind of attention, then he has our heart and we should focus all of our attention on him and shut down all of our other options, or he's not going to want us. And that is very counterintuitive to having a man step up and start to fall in love with you, because men, until they have decided that you are the one from them, they can't handle your undivided romantic attention.
What do you mean they can't handle it?
If you start hyper-focusing all of your attention on them before they've decided that they really want to be with you exclusively, your energy starts to work in a way that actually pushes them away. They are not very comfortable receiving that attention until they have decided, hey, this is a woman I would like to spend a considerable amount of time with. And then women in general, we start to act a little weird and this is something I'm highly guilty of, we start to act a little weird once we give our attention to a man, especially if he hasn't wholeheartedly committed to us. We start to make it all about him. We start to, try to figure out his schedule, his likes, how to hang out with his friends. And we never really invite him on our journey.
You were talking about a different way of dating, and is this your point of difference?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so What is the best way to meet someone that you can connect with?
Well, actually, there is no best way. I always recommend, especially for people new to dating, to put together a really great profile and do online dating. Key to that, because it never fails. I have women tell me I've tried online dating and it doesn't work.